Is there a chance that the Memphis Grizzlies could be faking injuries in order to get a lottery draft pick? Well, stay tuned to find out. Firstly, why would the Grizzlies even do something like that if it was true? Well, in the NBA, this is basically called tanking, which is a process in which a team purposely loses or destroys their team in order to get a high draft pick. Before we get into the injuries, first, let's get into the why. The Memphis Grizzlies are a really good basketball team. There is no denying that. But when you compare them to the top teams in the league like the Boston Celtics, Milwaukee Bucks, Denver Nuggets, Minnesota Timberwolves, and New York Knicks, it's apparent that they just simply don't have enough firepower to compete with those teams. And with Ja Morant missing all of those games due to suspension at the beginning of the season, it ruined the team even more in terms of chemistry. I honestly think this is the first year in a long time where we don't have a clear finals winner due to the incredible talent in the league today combined with the freedom of free agents and flexible contracts. Teams are being stacked with talent. Like, just seriously, think about the Celtics. They literally traded away Marcus Smart, the heart and soul of the team, a former Defensive Player of the Year, a historically great defensive player. And it appears they are even better without him. Boston has Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Al Horford, and now Xavier Tillman. That seems like a roster you would build on 2K. This is without a doubt the most stacked team on both ends of the floor that I've ever seen. Maybe even over the 2019 Raptors on paper at least. The Knicks, who've been an absolute surprise this season, have Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, OG, Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, Precious, and Isaiah Hartenstein. And oh yeah, now they have freaking Bogdanović to add to that. Just an insane roster from top to bottom. So hopefully you see where I'm coming from. The Grizzlies' 2024 season already started off horribly. Maybe they took a peek into the future and called things off before the storm hit. A roster of Ja Morant, Marcus Smart, John Conchar, Luke Kennard, Santi Aldama, and Jaren Jackson Jr. just wasn't gonna cut it. I don't care if Morant averaged 45, it wouldn't be near enough. After Morant's suspension was up, he quickly showed everyone why he's one of the best players in the NBA. In the 9 games he did play, he averaged 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists, pretty much picking up where he left off last season. I think some people forgot just how dynamic and exciting of a point guard he was. We've been spoiled with elite guards like Brunson, Steph, Tyrese Halliburton, and De'Aaron Fox, just to name a few. But during that 9-game stretch, the excitement that I felt from watching him was different from any of them. It was that Derrick Rose type of feeling, but greater. Ja not only had the jaw-dropping athleticism, but his handles and his demeanor and trash-talking added to his aura. But as we know, he would have to undergo season-ending surgery on his shoulder, which completely crushed the Grizzlies' playoff chances, let alone the finals. And this injury didn't happen during a live game, so it kind of came as a shock to everyone when it was announced he injured his shoulder in a training session, or at least so they say. Then, on January 12th, in a loss to the mighty Clippers, Desmond Bane would suffer a grade 3 ankle sprain that is keeping him out for 6 weeks. While it's been reported that the recovery process is going very well, I doubt that they'll be trying to rush him back. But it doesn't stop there because Marcus Smart would get injured as well. It just seems like nothing is going right in Memphis. And it just makes me sort of believe that maybe the Grizzlies are secretly shutting down their players for the rest of the year, waving the white flag on the season. I know you're probably thinking, why would they go to extreme lengths and say they're injured? And the answer to that is because load management is being looked down upon at an all-time high. So much so that the NBA put in a 65-game rule. So it would make sense that the Grizzlies would want to avoid backlash and instead label their players as injured. Now, okay, listen, I'm not trying to say that they are faking injuries. I mean, who knows? Not me or you, but could they have exaggerated the return times? Maybe so. Would that really surprise you if it were true? Probably not, right? Now, are they tanking? Well, that's hard to say because that word's usually thrown around way too much. Therefore, most people confuse tanking with a team that's simply being a horribly constructed team. In the past, the 76ers were actually known for really tanking for draft picks, and it sort of didn't work at first, but ended up working in the long run. Sam Hinkie, the quote-unquote mastermind of the Sixers' tanking strategy, implemented a new vision for the team's future. His plan involved dismantling the existing roster, shedding high-salaried veteran players, and accumulating assets in the form of draft picks and young prospects. The short-term sacrifice was positioned as a necessary step towards long-term success, a vision that would ultimately be named The Process. The process involved accepting losing seasons as an inevitable byproduct of strategic rebuilding. Hinkie's approach centered around accumulating high draft picks, as the NBA draft is widely regarded as the primary means for teams to acquire transformative talent. By fielding young and experienced rosters, the Sixers aims to maximize their chances in the draft lottery, where the worst performing teams are granted higher odds of securing very top picks. The Sixers embarked on a deliberate journey to the bottom of the standings, strategically managing player rotations and employing inexperienced lineups. Critics of the strategy argued that tanking undermined the integrity of the game, compromised the entertainment value for fans, and created a culture of losing that could have long-lasting negative effects. They also pointed to the toll it took on players who, despite their best efforts, were part of a system designed for failure. As the losses piled up, the Sixers found themselves in prime position during the NBA draft lottery. Each season brought anticipation and speculation regarding which potential superstar would become the next cornerstone of the franchise. The process became synonymous with lottery nights, where fans and analysts eagerly awaited the Sixers' fate. From 2013 to 17, they suffered losing season after losing season. Embiid was drafted in 2014 but wouldn't play until the 2016-2017 season, and Ben Simmons was drafted in 2016 but wouldn't play until the 2017-18 season. Things would turn once they were paired, and while they ended up not working out, the losing seasons were over, and they now knew they finally had a generational player in Joel Embiid. Fast forward to today, and the 76ers are one of the best teams in the NBA. So it took nearly a decade, but the process is finally coming together. Now, obviously, the Grizzlies situation and the 76ers situations are totally different scenarios. But my point is, there's only two results that can happen from tanking. It works, or it doesn't work. The 76ers ended up working over time, and I think the same result could happen for the Grizzlies. But instead of tanking nearly 10 damn years, it could be in full effect as early as next season. You see, the Grizzlies have two rising impact players on the roster, Gigi Jackson and Vince Williams. They have pretty much come out of nowhere and are exceeding in their roles. Jackson is a 40% shooter, and Vince Williams has been one of the better defenders at his position this season. Two skill sets that win championships in today's game. So resting or shutting down their players and letting these two, along with Zaire Williams, get some extra clock in could be an investment that results in a championship for the city of Memphis. Not only that, but the Grizzlies will most likely now have a lottery pick. And although this draft class is being deemed as an L, it's filled with plenty of role players who can contribute to championship teams, which is exactly what the Grizzlies need. Jacoby Walter from Baylor is one of those guys who would fit perfectly. The 6'5" guard is a great shooter who has impressive athleticism as well. Defensively, he has potential. You also have Robert Dillingham, who's a straight bucket at that point guard position. He's an NBA player. There is no way around it. And although the Grizzlies picked up Marcus Smart, he serves more as a secondary playmaker, and of course, an elite defender. Rob would give him a much-needed scoring boost off the bench, sort of like Bones Highland. Also, don't sleep on Ryan Dunn, who is arguably the best defender in the draft and one of the better defenders the college scene has seen in a long time. At 6'8", Dunn has the body and instincts to be a high-impact defender in just his first year. His offense is still pretty raw, but so is Vince Williams, and you can see he's making it work. There are just a lot, and I mean a lot of guys I love in this draft as impactful role players that will mainly help championship teams. Whether or not the Grizzlies are tanking or faking injuries doesn't matter. They're on the rise. With Gigi and Vince Williams playing great, and the Grizzlies having a chance at the lottery this year, they could go really deep in 2025. Plus, who knows what moves they can make in the offseason, with all of the attractive free agents going to be available this summer. If I were the NBA, I would keep a close eye on this bunch. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.